We back. Okay, so sorry about this. So the service will be start from here. In our case, you can send the request from the SOAP UI, or you have other tools to initiate the request. And we support REST and SOAP. Then we have the other two. These two is to control the smart switch, and they have two different functions. Because in our system, this one we use to define the logic, and actually in the M2M platform, we will manage the devices, the CPE you are using. Actually, after we insert the SIM card, we switch it on, it will be registered in our M2M platform. And also, the smart switch will be registered. And in that case, when you're trying to send a command to control the smart switch, our service need to know which switch you want to turn it off. Otherwise, if you send a command, all the smart switch will be off. It's unreasonable. So in here, when we double click these atoms, it will give us some options to configure. So the normal is just to define the properties of these atoms, what it will do, and we have menus about this. So what's our concern is the input and the output. So for the input, here we have two parameters. The first one, it should be the ID of the smart switch. So in the SN, the button of the smart switch, we will have this available. And the second, string term MDN is the ID of the CPE, the home gateway. So from this, you will know, okay, which smart switch you are trying to control, and this smart switch is connected to this smart home gateway. So it can uniquely locate the switch. Then, because I mentioned that this smart switch and the CPE will be registered in our M2M platform. So the system will randomly generate a device ID for this switch. So this atom is used to query that random ID from the platform, from the M2M platform. So after we got this ID, we will use it as an output. So by using this, we have located this smart switch. So the next, we want to switch it on or switch it off. So using another one. This is the name. You can just rename it, no problem. Send the action. So we want to send the request to the device. So the first parameter, device ID, is queried by this one. We have to keep the values in this parameter, in this variable. Sorry. So if you pay attention to this one, you will see the output. It is this one. So this is like a global variable we define in the service. Later, I will show you where we create this. So in here, the input, we use the device ID query from the platform. This is the home gateway, and we will send the action. We will switch on or switch off, and the result we can get a successful or failed, and the action will be delivered to the smart switch. So maybe you are wondering, where does this come from? Where this action value come from? I mentioned we will send the true or false, these two values to the smart switch. So we also have a place to define all those variables. In the properties, Here, variables, we define all the possible variables we might need to use. And in here, this input is the input of this service logic. That means the input of this start node. So when we use the SOAP UI to send a request to the API of this start node, we will send this action. We will send this action to this variable. So the true or false comes from here. Then after we got the true and false, we query the device ID on our M2M platform. Then send the operation to our smart switch so it can be controlled. And then this end means the end of the service. So in our tool, we support to do the debug. So all the simulator, all the development tools should support the simulation. So also we can do this. And on the TADHack blog, we have a video to show how to use it step by step. And if you have checked it, maybe you will find the sound is quite familiar, because it was me. And so the next, the development has been finished, and you need to compile it in order to output a zip package, and then it can be deployed to this platform. We call it internally, we call it UC. And for this TADHack, we already exposed the internet access for the developers. So we can log in. This actually is the management GUI for the platform. You can deploy the service, you can monitor the service, or either you can debug the service. So in here, which is related with our demo, in the service management, I have already deployed the service to this platform. So in the service management, we can see this M10 switch demo available in here. You can check the details, but for this Chrome, it doesn't support so well. If we're trying to check the diagram, it cannot display here. But if you use IE or Firefox, it works. So in here, actually, what you able to see is this one. It's the same. And in here, you have some options like put the service to offline, or you can enable it just like showing here. And in this part, because it's already been deployed, so when we try to do some debug or test, you cannot see the flows in here. Only in the IDT tool are you able to find the details.
So before you carry on, so there's another two portals that the platform has. One is the customer portal, and there's customer self-service portal.
No, it's from the billing side. It's not our development side.
One of those two portals has so you can purchase SIM cards, you can purchase devices, and there's a services or applications tab. Are these the same services that get linked there eventually, or is that different services?
It will be linked eventually, but we do some steps. So we will register this service into that part.
Okay, so there's another step to go from there to what the customers are able to buy or use.
Yes.
Okay.
So I have taken the picture down. So this page is what we developed for the TADHack. So this is the the GUI we will use to send the request to the start node to send true or false in order to control the switch. And what we need to do is just input the, maybe it's not too clear. In this side, we have a service ID. This service ID is the value which we use in here. Because in our platform, we might deploy not only one. So how can we identify which service you are trying to use? So this is the unique ID. This is the unique ID. And when we click the button here, it will send a request to the logic on our using in order to control the switch. And for some like deployment, you can also find those functions in here.
So where do you? So I saw you. Okay, the business logic, the logic of the flow
Yes.
was done with the atoms and on that side there, right?
Yeah.
Where's the user interface done?
The interface?
Yes.
Actually, in here it should be available, but because of this Chrome issue, it cannot pop up. There will be a pop-up window show you the logic.
So I'm not talking about the logic. I'm talking about that front end with the globe and the button that you developed.
Oh, okay. The URL haven't been exposed, so I'll just take
Pictures.
picture.
But where would you develop that?
Where?
Yes.
It's deployed on the same server of this UC.
So it's part of the same WAR package, or is it separate?
No, it's a separate. We just customized this for the TADHack for this trial.
Okay, so
Also
that's a
you-
separate application that calls the APIs
Yes.
exposed on the side.
Yes. Or you can use SOAP UI to replace that.
Okay. And where in that package that you were creating, that flow, where's the actual APIs exposed? Which atom represents the APIs?
So in here we have the API. So you will initiate the request to the service.
Okay.
And also we have another tool. This one I mentioned, we will query the device ID, right?
So do you create those API methods here, or are they predefined ones already?
This atom actually it's API.
Okay.
We will already zip it, you can say.
Okay, so these atoms actually host the actual method calls
Yes.
and the APIs that.
So if you want to record this service, just use the APIs which is provided by this.
So if I click the button on that web page that says on, right? Which of these atoms is going to get invoked?
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah, because it always go to the start node first.
And it's possible to see the method name on the start node?
Method name.
Yeah, if you click on the start node.
It's in a different place. This start node is a little different.
Okay.
When I mentioned about the properties here, all those input and output defines in here. The input of the start node
Okay.
is defined in here. So this input, this action.
Is that the actual service call? So would your web front end be calling a method called action?
Yes.
Okay. And passing all those.
It's not the called action.
Oh.
This is the variable.
Oh, that's
will
the
be
variable.
delivered to this start
Okay.
node.
So the action will be on or off or something like that.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It's only a value, and the interface is exposed by this start node. We use WSDL.
Okay. All right.
So
Do you have the sorry? Do you have the WSDL for that start node?
yes,
Where we can see.
yes,
I'm just trying to understand whether it's. Do you as a developer created WSDL, or is it a preset start node
I
WSDL?
think they created that was Or
Yes.
But was it created on the fly as part of this project, or is it like a preset one? That's what I'm.
This is the preset one.
It's
We
a
already
preset
provide this. So you
Okay.
can just record this.
So you can just reuse this one as is.
Yes, just use this one. Okay. And
Can you go down a
we have a
bit?
soap and the rest, some examples.
Let's see the rest one. The rest one will be
The
easy
rest
to read.
with XML or JSON.
Okay, so you're just calling a service ID by its ID.
Yes, by this. So in that web page, we saw there's a service ID we need to fill in. That is the value of this one. So when we want to record the start node, in this part, we need to input the service ID 62s.
Is that generated or is that, do you set that?
It's defined by the developer.
Okay.
So when the developer trying to
There we go.
when they're trying to deploy the service, they will define an ID.
Okay.
So this is the ID you will need to record. So that's why there's a 62s. So from this GUI, we will input 62s here. That means you will want to record the service. In this, maybe there's a 5 ones, so it can identify the different logic.
You had a question?
it was more
Same.
or less the same question.
Okay. What I also wanted to ask, so you've got two applications now. You've got one that's exposing the service and has all the logic, and then you've got that front end which you took a picture of, right?
Yes,
And you said the front end's also hosted on the platform.
this one.
Yes.
This actually, you can deploy it anywhere,
Yeah.
anywhere,
Okay, cool.
even locally.
But if I wanted to include it as part of the other WAR file, is that possible? Does your container, your application container, have the ability to host JSP files and things like that? If I want everything in one place, in one package.
No, it's actually this is it's a separate. We just use this GSP as like a SOAP UI.
Sure.
We need to invoke this. system.
Now, I'm just thinking at the event, if somebody wants to create an application that has a front end, should we cater for another application server for the front end?
No, because I don't think we expose the access to the background servers. We only expose the URL, so we can log into this web page and.
So how will we invoke the service then?
You can just create SOAP UI project.
But if SOAP UI can reach the APIs, then
Yes.
surely you should be able to reach it from anything, right?
Yes, yes. If you have any tools, and we provide the URL, the ports you need to reach to.
So I think from a developer point of view, you probably host this front end bits on your laptop or whatever it is, and make the calls to the back end.
Yeah. And if you want to use this, it's also okay. We will provide this. But I think with the SOAP UI or other tools, it will be more flexible, because in this GUI, the value is fixed, only true or false.
Okay, so my question is on the weekend, are we going to be asking developers to be creating their own services? So
Yes.
like your service ID 222?
Yes.
Is that what we expect them to create?
Yes.
All right. And will we have some preset ones already for them to, if they want to just use like some standard ones, like this
The-
demo one that you have?
For the demos, we will provide some, and some preset things like the account to log into this UC platform.
Okay. How long does it take to register the account? Is it something we need to do before the event?
Yeah, before the event, we already prepare, I think, 5 accounts.
Okay. We might need a lot more depending on.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
But
which-
it is no problem. We can just register using the suite.
Okay. The other question I have is the linking of your device to the. There was some linking that you do in the second atom.
Yes. In the service, we have atom, and for example, the second get device same atom. You can just right-click, check the attributes.
Uh-huh.
see there's a URL and
Okay.
a port number. So the second atom will query from this URL, query the device ID from here.
What is that URL? Where is that pointing to?
It's a part of the M2M platform.
Oh, I
It's
see.
actually smart home module.
Is that the smartphone one?
Yeah. Also, the CPE, the smart switch, will be registered on this URL, and we are querying from there.
Oh, I see. And that is linking your that's linking your service to the device. Is that what it's doing?
Yeah, you can say like this. So basically, what we're trying to do after we deploy the service, the service is running in here, right? And this we call the UC. So what we are trying to do, when you invoke this service from a SOAP UI or any application you are using locally, so the request will be sent to here first. Then this UC will send another request to the smart home module to query the device ID. So the smart home module is using this URL. Okay? So
Okay.
by the parameters which is printed on the tag of the device. Then it will send back the device ID to the UC. Then UC will decide what we're trying to do. We will send true or false. And also, this command will be sent back to the smart module.
If you don't mind, can you bring up? I think we have the picture on the TADHack site with your architecture, just so we can people can see what USC means and where it sits in context of the. So I don't know if you have that picture available. If not, it's on the TADHack.
One, yes, I sent it previously.
Yeah, the one you sent me.
Not sure whether I think that's.
So USC, USEE, right?
USE, yes.
Is the part of the platform that's the application container. It's like a Tomcat or whatever sitting on this platform that where you drop your WAR files. So
this is the one you're talking about.
no, there's an architectural diagram.
Architecture.
Yeah, if you open up the TADHack site and go to the ZTE page, I think it's on there. TADHack.mt, let's see what it's
The system architecture of the M2M.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go, that's the one. Can you just click on the picture? Maybe make it bigger or something. Yeah. So that's the overall architecture of the platform that we're hosting, right? The terminal and sensor is that unit down there.
Yep.
The IoT platform is what sits at Centurion in our data center, and what you're developing as a developer is the top layer there, that application and service. The service that you referred to, that maps the device back to you, that's an application of its own, right?
Yes.
That you guys created before. What's it called? The home gate,
The smart home module.
smart home module.
Yes.
Okay. So I think that was a demo that you guys created also.
Yeah.
Yo.
What options are we going to see?
Yes. So how if you had a different type of sensor? So at the moment you have created an atom that speaks to the home gateway.
Yes.
But if I come now with a completely new device, I would need to create an atom for it, right?
We can provide the APIs, so you can create Atom by yourself.
Okay. So so the APIs would include things like MQTT and WMP. But what's the
WMMP or
WMMP.
JSON.
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of predefined API types, right? The one that's most popular in China is the WMP.
WMMP.
WMMP-T. That means terminal, right? So if you have a generic device, you start off with the API that it supports. So if, for the TADHack, we're going to provide these things here. So there's a pre-built atom that already speaks to this. But if somebody really wants to get into the more generic ones, there's SOAP, there's WMP, whatever, WMPP-T. I'm hoping we can get MQTT because that's more popular here in South Africa and Europe. A lot of the guys that are doing these kind of things use MQTT. It's a messaging protocol. It's like are you familiar with PubSub? Publish and subscribe?
Yeah.
So it's a messaging protocol that's supposed to publish and subscribe. Your device publishes information up into the cloud, doesn't care, just says, this is my temperature, this is humidity, this is whatever, right? Location, any sensor information, it pumps it up, and your MQTT server has a registry of who's listening for that information. So like your ESB on you have topics. It's the same concept, right? So if the topic is temperature and you have an application that's interested in all the sensors temperature, it gets notified that there's new information coming up and it gets fed into them. So that's MQTT in a nutshell. So there's if you go into your app store, there's a number of demo applications that generate MQTT messages, and you can tag them as you like. So if you're going to do a quick prototype, it's a good way to start. You pretend that your phone is a sensor, install one of these MQTT apps, hopefully plug it into an atom on this side, and then you pump your information up into the platform. Then you start developing your application on top of that, and that uses this information in whatever way. So you could, for example, create a dummy MQTT app that mimics a door sensor, right? And when somebody opens a door, it sends an MQTT message up saying door open, and then you trigger this rest of the flow, which switches on a light. So the light switches on when somebody opens the door.
Because I was thinking, my dog, he lifts his leg with a big voice, whoa.
I don't know if that's going to win the prize, but
That's a good idea.
we can give it a try. Okay, cool. Are we going to have MQTT?
I'm not sure about this.
Can we try? There's a lot of people that are familiar with MQTT. I know some of the guys in my team also. Is Jay around? I mean, he uses MQTT. Kieran uses. There's a lot of developers that are familiar with MQTT. So if we can get it working by the time of the event, it'll be good.
Okay.
If not, the RESTful service is the next best thing. RESTful, I mean, most of us are familiar with REST. It's an HTTP call. So similarly, you can trigger an event from a browser over a RESTful call, and that's picked up by an atom somewhere. Is an atom for REST?
For REST?
Yes.
The interface?
Yes.
For the start node, yes, we're using, we can support the REST and so. And actually, there's it seems it's limited to the pre-provided things, but actually it's not. There's one key function for this platform. We can support importing the WSDL file. So, for example, in the pre-challenge, we give a task that you can you need to define a service to get the GUIP, and actually this GUIP interface is available, and with WSDL.
You guys familiar with GeoIP? So GeoIP is the service when you go to Google Maps, for example, and you wanted to center the map on your current location. You click the little circle button. It uses GeoIP to figure out where you are. It takes your IP address and it has a database that maps an IP address to a physical location. So GeoIP is a service that you can use on the internet, provided by many. Even I think Google had their own one, and there's a few others. You give it an IP and it gives you back a location.
Like if you find your server is being attacked by some IP, you can just to check where it is. So for the GeoIP, this scenario, you can just code from the beginning to define all your codes, or just to use the provided WSDL file to import into this service flow, and just using this function, you can right click. Import some WSDL files you can find, and then it will generate atom automatically. Then you can just drag and use it. It's quite convenient.
So does it show up in the list in that?
If you register the WSDL file,
Yeah.
then it will be displayed in here. In my case, I haven't registered anything.
Okay. And then you just drag it across, and then the parameters that are exposed by the WSDL will become.
You need to fill in. Because in the WSDL file, we already define all the input and output, just to fill in there.
Okay. So, for example, for that challenge that you had, you would need to pass the IP address from the start
From start node.
node into the atom for the service, right?
No, for example, now if the GeoIP service is provided by Google, then this service firstly will be invoked from the start node. Then the start node goes to the GeoIP atoms, and this GeoIP atom will have a URL parameters need to be filled in. Then it will go to Google server, get the result back, and then maybe it will send you by SMS or other method you can define.
Do we have ready-made atoms for SMS and things like that?
Yes, it's available, but the
problem
problem is the connection to the SMSC. And actually for this service logic down here, we will use the SMS to control the smart switch. This function is okay.
Are there any atoms ready-made and available for some of the popular social media platforms? Yeah, so for example, an atom for sending a tweet, or an atom for posting a Facebook message. Or,
if you can get the WSDL file.
well, there aren't any pre-made ones available yet.
No.
But if you can get a WSDL, then you can create an atom.
You can do that, yes.
Okay. Because I mean, that's one of the other criteria that I want to build into the judging is mesh up between telephony APIs, these ones, and social media and others, right? So doing interesting things across there. I mean, imagine getting notified on Facebook when somebody enters your house, or things like that, or when your car needs to go for a service. There's a little unit plugged into the car that sends sensor information up that can give you your diagnostic information. So yeah, you can plug that into Twitter, Telegram, something. Those are the kind of interesting possibilities that you can get to with something like this.
Like you can set up a camera in your house or in your car. If someone breaks in, it will automatically take a picture and post it on Facebook, so all the friends can track it.
That will stop it quickly.
Or maybe you can trace the location with GeoIP or something. You can real-time monitor where he is.
That would be great.
Yeah, that's what we can do.
Okay, so this IDT is available. It's the links are on the TADHack portal under ZTE. There's some links there, and it'll take you to the actual IDT. You can download it. There's some other material online. There's a video. There's some documentation as well. And if you're going to chat to the guys, Slack is available. They're going to be monitoring the channel. There's a specific channel for ZTE. If you have any questions and you're struggling to get started, that's where you can ask.
Or you can join the Slack in M2M IoT. So I'm available here.
Are there any questions specifically?
Do we have enough SIMs? Or those devices will act as how much of those devices?
I was thinking the 100 we have, we get them linked as well. Or a portion there, I don't know. Maybe we should order another batch. Okay, so maybe to test it out, we can order another 100 SIMs. How are the SIM cards registered to the service? Where does that happen?
The SIM card. Now, when the SIM card is inserted into the CPE, actually it's already been registered.
Okay, so you don't need to link the SIM card.
No,
as
you
long
don't need
as
to
you're
link
linking the device, and that's good enough. Okay, awesome. But if I have a custom device, if I come with some other device and I insert my SIM card and I want it to link to the service, how would that happen?
First of all, that the device need to be registered in the M2M platform.
Okay.
And we have some protocol requirements for the device. If it can support, then yes.
Like what?
I think it's a JSON or what? between the CPE and the platform, you know, which WMMP.
Dash T.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that it, or are there other ones that it can also support? So it has to be WMP for now. Okay. I think a lot of the devices that you get off what's the site where you order your stuff from, the Chinese eBay. What's it called? Alibaba.
Alibaba, Taobao.
Yeah, so a lot of the devices that you get off there will have WMMP-T support. Okay, cool. The other thing is this IDT is based on Eclipse. The one that they prepackaged runs on Windows only, but you can run it on a VM or whatever if you have to. That's one of the. Or if you don't want to use a fancy graphical interface, you still can use the SOAP APIs of anything else.
And actually, we also provide the web interface for this IDT.
Oh.
But since for the TADHack, we may have lots of developers, so we didn't create so many accounts for them. So instead, we use the offline development tool.
It'll be nice to see that. Have you got access to that here or not yet?
I don't think so, because we haven't exposed that.
Okay, well, I think it'll be good to work on that.
It's similar. Just let me try. I haven't checked this yet.
It doesn't look like it's.
Yeah.
Okay, so the firewalls and the access rules to this platform are controlled by MTN Group. And since this is a very new platform, this is the first time we're actually exposing the developer interfaces to anybody. So as we require them, we're asking for permission to group. I think it'll be worthwhile opening up the web-based one as well for guys that don't have Windows today. All right. What else? What are the other tabs for manage instance scheduling?
This is for managing the services. For example, the capability management. We have created so many atoms, right? In the IDT tool, you are using that. For example, now for the you have a new WSDL, you will need to use the function here to import the WSDL in order to generate an atom. But this atom is only used in this IDT currently. So if you need to deploy your service into UC, you also need to register that atom into here. That means so these both places you will find a related function. Otherwise, if you only used in IDT and then you didn't import in here, it could not find the logic.
And is it automated? Does anybody need to check it, or do I just submit?
No, when
capability?
no need the check, no need confirmation, because we expose those to the main function.
Okay, so that happens on the fly. And what are you uploading here? Also WSDL, or is there something else that you on the capability side?
In the capability,
yeah, it looks like it's a WSDL. Okay.
Firstly, for example, for register the capability, we'll register the atoms. It's a zip file.
Oh, it's a zip file. Okay. So you export it from the IDT?
No, it's not export from IDT. When you use this atom in IDT, you also need to import into the IDT. For example, these atoms I have already imported.
So how do I go from a WSDL to a zip?
If you want to go to WSDL to zip, actually it's not the directly zip package. Firstly, you register in here, and also in this part, You
Okay.
can directly register using the domicile.
Okay.
So no need to export again and import again.
All right.
If you are using the same one, just to register again. Browser just to find your result.
Okay, tell me something. When it comes to data, right? One of the issues with, one of the requirements when it comes to MTM and IoT is you're going to have thousands of devices generating lots of data. If I want to create an application that just stores this data and analyzes it, how do you do that? How do you create a data store on platforms?
You want to collect all the data.
Yeah, like sensor data, right? If I want to
sensor
collect
data.
sensor data from lots of devices somewhere, and I want your platform to house that data for my application so that I can analyze it and whatever. Is that how do you do something like that? Is there a concept of data store somewhere, or?
Actually, you can just record that data value. It's not to store all those data things. Just it's like a statistic result. You can click them.
Is it persisted in a database or file or?
We can connect to the DB if you have one.
But there's nothing inbuilt that can be used.
In here, no. For example, this database atoms. If
Yes.
you have a database set up,
Okay, so you need
You
to
can
point it to another
define-
database.
yeah, you can define the connection to that database and do some query or execution.
And what types of database does it support?
Sybase and Oracle.
Oracle.
Sybase and Oracle.
Sybase, okay. Can you quickly just click on the statistics atom? Okay, so there's three types of statistics: normal, average, and what's the last one?
Peak.
Peak. So this would collect information, right, from a device or display it. What
No,
was
it's used to calculate.
to calculate.
Firstly, you need to extract those data and then send it to this one, so it
Okay.
can detect the peak or average.
Okay, so you'd have an atom that collects information, an atom that stores it in a database, and then you have this atom afterwards that would pull that
Process.
information and process it and produce either normal, average, or peak.
Yeah. So I think the point is how you define the extract step.
Yes, that's part that's.
So maybe you can detect from the request numbers to the start node, or you define your own method to get the data you need.
Okay, cool.
You have to register.
Register what?
Can you just log in with your...
You need to register. We will provide 5 accounts.
Oh,
In here, if you have if you can see the URL, you can use a super username, super password, super to log in. Now it's available on the internet.
Now it's.
But don't delete the service, okay?
Too late. It's probably deleted by now. It's on YouTube. You're gonna have to change your password. Okay. So what's the process? If any of us want an account for ourselves, do we contact you on Slack or?
Yeah, you can say that on Slack. You can arrange that.
Okay. So I think if you want an account, just drop a message on Slack. Say please. Awesome. Anything else, guys? Thank you.
The hackathon ends, if I want to keep using your services, if for instance I'm registered and I've hacked away and I've got a working MVP and I want to keep using the service, what happens then?
Yeah, so that's a question for MTN, to be honest, because it's our platform and we're going to be deciding how this developer platform carries on afterwards. In this case, we're going to be as SA, and because we're opening up this before group has officially done so, we're going to be asking them to keep it open. We've done similarly with the Huawei SDP. There's a developer.mtn.com portal, and that is meant to be the home for all of these kind of MTN developer portals. So this will eventually slot in with that at some point. We're going to try and fast track it now that it's exposed and public, right? The idea is that we want to create an ecosystem on the platform. Right? If you're a customer and you've bought SIMs with us, now you're looking for devices. This platform allows you to register these new devices as long as it supports this WMP-T protocol. You can register your own devices and sell it to MTN customers, right? So if a customer is looking for a complete solution, SIM card, device, and application, he can go to this platform and select them from a shopping cart and put them together, and he has a solution, right? And you as a developer, you helping MTN with that last piece, that application part. We don't have the capability to create small applications for every single industry vertical by ourselves. We don't have the resources for that. So we want to open that up to the developer community. You guys create that, and you selling your service to our customers. We selling our SIM card and the ability to manage it and the data. Okay. Anything else? Cool. So next week, I think we have IBM coming in on Bluemix. There'll be a similar setup. They'll take us through how they intend using their platform during the event, and we'll explore that. And then Howie and Conviva sometime after that as well. So I'll send out the invite again as soon as we have a time slot booked. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for organizing.
And you are always welcome to message me on Slack.